Patriot Pals, welcome back to the Mel K Show. It's me, Mel K, and it's January 2nd, 2021. And we are marching towards the Second American Revolution with my partner, Rob Reilly. How are you doing, Rob?
I'm doing great today, Mel. How are you feeling today on this first Saturday of the new year as we roll into this unbelievably exciting week?
I'm feeling pretty good. What's happening in Manhattan?
Well, we're coming off our New Year's high, which was just, off the charts, obviously. It struck me. I saw a number of pictures, and it's kind of gone viral, the celebrations in Wuhan. And we talked about this the other day, where New York had this broken city, and our mayor and his wife dancing in an empty Times Square, and then Wuhan celebrating like it's 1999. But the thing that's different in the way I'm looking at it now is just the messaging, the way that they're kind of painting the success of Wuhan and the celebration versus the depravity and decay of New York, which really pisses me off.
Right. Well, it's our own, the same usual suspects, our own fake media. Washington Post, New York Times, CNN, MSNBC used it as an opportunity to say, hey, look, China's doing great. China did a great response to COVID. Look at China on New Year's Eve compared to New York City. Of course, they created the New York City problem. And they were using it as if, well, I mean, obviously, we all know by now that they are all bought and paid for by Chinese, the CCP and their propaganda wings. But yeah, no, they were using how great China's doing, who gave us this virus and who has other bioweapons and who it's a communist country. What they're seeing is what China wants us to see. What they're not seeing is all the armed guards all over and all the force that is used and all the police that are watching them, including a totally AI surveilled crowd of millions of people that have no freedom. But they're putting out the picture, and then our press is running with it. And then our usual suspect press, who are CCP compromised, obviously, are sitting there pointing at New York while we sit here like so sad for our friends and family and everyone that usually, comes out to New Year's Eve here. And we had a 10 p.m. curfew. Everyone had to shut. The restaurateurs were really scared, like shutting for real and getting you out of there because they were scared they were going to get in trouble. Then de Blasio and his wife dance on our graves in the middle of Times Square like they're at the senior prom or something. And then on top of that, the media goes out there and says, see, America did a terrible job at the COVID relief, even though we did a great job and Trump led the way, and the Operation Warp Speed and all of that was a great success, is moving forward. Other than our governor and a bunch of other rogue liberal CCP governors. But yeah, that's the saddest part, is our media used it to praise China and say how much better China is than America. And that was the sad part of their coverage on Wuhan being like the biggest party ever. That's exactly what the CCP in China wanted them to say, and they did.
I think it's
So,
important, the subtleties to understand. I mean, that's one of the reasons I think why we do what we do, among many reasons. But is that we've come over time to really see how insidious the messaging can be, and it's often overlooked. But it's not overlooked by your subconscious. It's not overlooked by those that are not awake. And so that's why we in this movement feel so strongly about getting the truth out, and uncovering kind of these falsehoods. So,
right.
you know, it's all conspiracy theories, right? Everything is
No,
a
I'm a
conspiracy
conspiracy
theory.
analyst.
I
I,
know,
I,
I
I
know,
don't delve into theories.
right? Right. So we've been talking a long time
Yeah.
about vaccines and lockdowns, and none of that could ever possibly happen. We talked about yesterday this Bill 416 in New York, which is creating for forced quarantine and forced vaccines,
For any
and
reason.
for any reason, and they can send you anywhere. It's a really terrifying bill. A lot of people have done a really good job reporting on it, so we're not going to go over it again. But if you have an opportunity, I would recommend reading it, because it's coming to a state near you. Hopefully not, but it's important to know what the hell's going on out there. But importantly, New York has passed another law, which, is going to really save things.
Yeah,
And
this is gonna make COVID so much better.
yeah, so now that there's no discrimination against hair. So any kind of hair you have, whatever it is, however wild it is, that is not a legal form of discrimination.
No, it
It,
now is, if you are, if a restaurant or a retail store or whatever, has a code for haircut, or, you can't wear a hat, or you can't, no more, no more. It's totally up to the worker. The private business owner has no say. So if you have dreadlocks, or you have, wear a turban, or you have crazy colored hair or whatever, tough for the owner of the place, or the establishment, or the restaurant, or the store. They cannot discriminate against you in either hiring or in firing, which makes it a very bizarre world. Because I always worked at, if you worked at like hotels, nice hotels or restaurants, there was a grooming part of like in every handbook. But now, no longer in New York can a hotel or a restaurant or any establishment tell you to do anything about your hair or your headwear. So,
this is all part of the do what you will,
right.
satanic, Luciferian kind of mindset, number one.
Yeah.
Number two, it takes away all of our independent thought and personal responsibility. And so now anyone can get in trouble for anything, and it's a law.
Right.
And, we need to take personal responsibility. If you want to grow your hair out, like a hippie from the 60s, or have a big fro, or wear a turban because that's your religion, that's fine. And, we as citizens we should understand that. We don't need to be
Right. But
told.
then don't go work at Ritz-Carlton or Four Seasons, where they have very strict rules about how their employees are supposed to look, because it's part of their brand.
Right.
I could
It's
I
like
could
tattoos,
back
right?
and forth. Yeah, but most employers make you cover your tattoos in terms of wearing long sleeves or whatever. Listen, it's telling private business who they can fire and hire. It also opens the door to frivolous lawsuits, which we've needed tort reform in this country for years, but that's not going to happen. Anyway, in the middle of COVID, I guess the very shady Department of Justice of New York felt that it was a good time to institute laws against discriminating on hair.
Yeah. Well, they're not to be outdone. Evidently, the House has some new laws.
Oh, yes, yes.
I
Nancy
mean,
Pelosi is really prioritizing this time. When the 117th Congress comes back, it's like I prefer them not to come back. Half of them will stay home claiming COVID anyway. But so now Nancy Pelosi has prioritized. She's very, very excited about changing everything that means anything on the planet upside down. So now she's changed some rules to honor all gender identities. What rules do you think? Well, these are pronouns this time that have anything to do with familial relationships, in terms of gender, being gender neutral. It removes references to gender as appropriate, ensures that we're all inclusive of members, delegates, resident commissioners, and their families, including those that are non-binary. I didn't know this was a problem, like I didn't know about the hair, but the early changes already are for, you can no longer call somebody a seaman. My dad was in the Coast Guard Auxiliary. He was a seaman. Now he has to be called a seafarer. No more using the word chairman in making bills or anything in Congress. You have to use only chair. You can no longer say submit his or her resignation. It needs to be resigns. And then on top of that, we're going to axe all references to fathers, mothers, sons, daughters, brothers, sisters, husbands, wives, and in-laws. These shall be changed to parent, child, sibling, spouse, or parent-in-law. Extended family members would be referred to as child's parent instead of aunt or uncle, step-parent, or siblings. Thanks
you
to
know,
the leadership of Chairman McGovern, a real prioritizer, and our members of the Democratic Socialist Party, they've crafted a package of unprecedented, bold reforms which will make the House more accountable, transparent, and effective to our work to meet the needs of the American people.
I'm sure our bartender in chief had
Yeah.
something to do with this. But again, this is it's just it's the same as the hair
No,
thing.
they
It's
want
the
all
Luciferian.
references to reality
It's
removed.
family. They want to break down family. They want to create this mass confusion. They want to change our language. They want us using different words. It's very confusing. And
They can't get anything done for the country, but when it comes to turning things upside down in the name of having no God, no family, no religion, they'll go really over the top. This is as ridiculous as I've seen so far from this lady. She could not be in prison soon enough, God willing. And let me tell you something. Mother, father, these are terms of endearment. They're not. They have nothing to do with gender inequality. This is so crazy to me. But that's what we're dealing with right now. I
this
cannot
is what
believe this
this is
bill comes out right.
this is what started Jordan Peterson's claim to fame, and probably a lot of people know
So
him, maybe
right,
they don't. But there was the in Canada the gender pronouns,
right,
and the government was pushing legislation
right.
to legislate how you need to speak to
Speech.
people.
And she's
Right,
doing it right now in the House, inside our government. She's legislating speech,
right.
right and wrong. And
Well,
father, mother, daughter, sister, brother are all they're not gender neutral enough.
Well, she's getting hers. Evidently, her house was vandalized. There was a
I feel no
pig head
sadness about that.
left on her uh, stoop in front of her garage. There was fake blood strewn all over, and there was some graffiti on her door about the $2,000, and so
Well, what's crazy is it's clearly that with what they wrote and their markings and stuff, that it was Antifa
it
that
looked
she
like
came
it, didn't
in
it?
and denied existed, attacked her own house, just like
Yeah.
that Ted Wheeler, that idiot. Same thing, attacked him, attacked his house. It's just this is it. I mean, the funniest thing ever was when one of the funniest was when Laura Loomer went and put a tent on her lawn and said that if she was going to have illegal immigrants come in and no wall, then anyone should be able to put a tent on her lawn. But no, I feel no sadness for this woman. I'm surprised that's as bad as it got for
You-
her, because she's a true demon. She hates us. The way she speaks down to the American people, the way she says they're my people. I feed them. The woman. She deserves the same as her predecessor, Marie Antoinette, in my opinion. But
yeah.
okay, so she got attacked. Oh, another really shocking thing. So it turns out the whole fake Russia bounty story that the Atlantic put out, the left-wing radical propaganda paper owned by Steve Jobs' ex-wife. Well, it turns out that the true story is that it was China putting bounties on our soldiers, apparently, in Afghanistan. This is like I've been saying for about 2 years. Every time you hear something about Russia, dig into that same story in terms of China, and you'll find the gold. So anyway, this came out, and a representative from Florida, Michael Waltz, came forward after the information came out that the bounties for our soldiers' heads in Afghanistan were really from China. And he actually fought in Afghanistan. And he came out and he said that when they were on the battlefield in Afghanistan, they often saw Chinese weapons in the hands of the Taliban. And he wants this investigated immediately, because he feels that there was always a Chinese component on the battlefield in Afghanistan that was being ignored. And if you remember, it was Russia that walked away from Afghanistan when the Bush and Halliburton and Cheney and all the warmongers went in. And so, I mean, the truth is, why would China be there at all? And then on top of that, that they were giving bounties. And now we know all we know about the Chinese infiltrating many of our top level military. So this makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah. Well, China is, clearly enemy number one. And
But they're still pushing Russia, and Russia is seriously not our enemy. Russia puts Russia first. China wants to take over our country. They want to circumvent our country, kick out our sovereignty, and make us all into slaves like their population on every level. Why we're The whole Russia thing is a total farce. It's these horrible people embedded in our own government that have decided to be like, look over there to Russia. And Russia's like, leave us alone. They want to take care of Russia. China doesn't care about China. They want to take over the world. Two very different points of view. And it's been a real disservice that the left-wing media and the liberals and Congress and Senate on the left side have pushed so hard on this Russia bullshit when the real enemy the whole time was China. And the worst part is they knew it. And this was all on purpose. The Russia collusion, all of it has been a job that they've been doing for China. And, I'm at a point where if I'm Putin, I've just, and any Russian, I've just had it with American media and the American Democratic Party at this point. I mean, everything that they say about Russia has come back to China was running the honeypot. China has all the blackmail and sexual blackmail on our politicians and celebrities. China was infiltrating our schools and our military and our technology, but helped out by a lot of our own.
China's listening right now, by the way. Hi,
Oh,
China.
wait, I forgot. I forgot.
China.
Yes, we found out today, and you can connect some dots. Not only is Zoom owned by the CCP, everyone was up in arms because Trump wanted to get rid of TikTok, and rightly so. It's owned by the CCP. It's a surveillance tool, and our dumb Americans don't get it. It's all fun and games till you realize it's about watching us. But it turns out that Zoom is owned by the CCP, by a company that is owned by the Chinese government, Chinese military, and they hand over all the data from Zoom. And what they're talking about now is that when Trump banned TikTok, he should have banned Zoom. And instead, a lot of our companies in our country jumped on the Zoom bandwagon. So now they're doing criminal trials and court hearings on Zoom. They're doing government meetings and government hearings on Zoom. They're doing education and classes for children and college students on Zoom. And most businesses are doing their meetings on Zoom. Well, guess what? Zoom has a back channel to the Chinese government that they can log in and they can spy on anyone in the that is using the Zoom application. On top of that, they also are, turns out Sequoia, who the fund that is very involved with Dominion and the election fraud, is one of the big owners of Zoom as well. So here's another one. And Sequoia is underwritten by N.M. Rothschild and Son, which brings us back to the cabal. So it turns out that Zoom might very well be a major spy tool. And also in on this is Cisco and Natural Microsystems and Dialogic and all these companies that make Zoom work apparently are the CEO and creator of Zoom is a Chinese national. And on top of that, it turns out that he has been investigated. And Zoom, though it looks like it's from Silicon Valley, they say that it's an illegal spy software out of China, India, and Korea. So take note on that, Zoomers.
Are we going to have to learn another platform?
Took me too long to learn.
I know. And I saw that BitChute
That's probably
was
why
down.
they made it so easy.
Yeah, BitChute was down today for a little while. Evidently, they were under a denial of a service attack.
Right.
Looks like it's up now, but
Right.
it's pretty frustrating. Obviously, we know a lot of digital soldiers have been dealing with this for years and years and years, and you've lost a lot of content over the years.
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah.
Yeah. And China's also teaming up with the EU in a trade alliance. So they're trying to create a kind of a trade bloc. But
right.
And that's
well, let's just be very clear. It's the CCP and the EU. Well, the CCP and the EU are both cabal, one world order. The UN is just an offshoot of, the EU is an offshoot of the UN. They're all for the one world order, one world government. The CCP is 100% in that realm. They're running the whole show. This is not a surprise. How anyone could stay in the EU knowing that they just want all those countries to cede their sovereignty to a one world order that is led by Luciferian Satanists, billionaires out of Switzerland is beyond my comprehension. But the EU and China, they're not just getting together. They're the same. And I don't mean China, the Chinese people. The CCP runs basically every important committee at the UN. They're running policy. They want a one world order. They want depopulation in mass quantity, which is probably part of the COVID. And basically, they want every country in the world to cede sovereignty to their 10 nation state plan and have them run it out of their, alliance of those billionaire Bilderberg Davos group, all the same people. And it's really sad. Anyone pushing to stay in the EU, or like I always say, if you hear build back better or the future we want, run the other way, because that's the Great Reset. And that's got everything to do with every human on this planet becoming a slave of this elite cabal, banking, satanic, Luciferian one world order where we are just slaves and feeders, otherwise unnecessary. And that is going to stop. So
Yeah,
yeah,
now we can see in retrospect how important the Brexit movement with our patriots across the
yeah,
pond is, and
yeah. I'm a big
why.
fan of Nigel Farage, and China hates him, so he's on the right side.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, and on top of that, I don't know if people, you never know what's out there. I try to bring some news that people haven't seen that are good movements in the right direction. So everyone that watches us, I think, knows about the executive orders. The first one for human trafficking, child trafficking, organ trafficking, human rights abuses that led to a Nuremberg type international tribunal community that is kind of behind the scenes, but will emerge soon. But then we also have the executive order on foreign interference in our election. So, and then we have the Jeffrey Epstein case upcoming, which is a gigantic case that involves many, many banks and many, many famous people, not just for the reasons that are out there, but we'll get into that soon. But a good piece of news that I saw that leads me to believe we're heading in the right direction because nothing Trump is doing to me signals that he, for even 1 second, thinks he's not going to be president. And it doesn't seem like anyone else is acting that way either, even if they're blabbering on TV or whatever. But anyway, so on Friday, legislation was adopted to ban anonymous shell companies by forcing firms to report their true owners. If you guys know, Rob was in banking. One of the ways that these giant multinational giant corporations hide who they really owns them, as I've done shows about the enormous power of the Paysour / Rothschild banking cabal in corporate America. But anyway, so this ban would include 740 billion defense. It's included in the billion defense spending bill that nobody was really talking about this part. But basically, it's going to end money laundering in terms of hiding your money in shell corporations all over the country, but really all over the world. This is the first step towards true transparency with all these billionaires that hide their money, pay no taxes, and launder money from one foundation to the next, and you can't find who owns them. This is what Jeffrey Epstein did to make most of his money, was hiding money. The Panama Papers got ignored. The Paradise Papers got ignored. Well, it turns out that money launderers better step up and realize that the jig is up almost, God, thank God. And this is the doing of Stephen Mnuchin. Some people love him. Some people hate him. Some people don't know what to make of him. This is a really good step in the right direction. There really hasn't been anything. Eric Holder, most people don't know, he basically gave a free pass after the 2008 crash to all banks, giving them immunity. He made white collar crime basically a bottom priority and not really something that people did jail time, though it does way more damage than what on the surface he was trying to say. So Holder made that that basically the banks got a free pass after 2008, and then the money laundering went wild during Obama, as we know, and we've discussed. So this is a nice step in the right direction. The guy running the Bank Policy Institute said that now this will be in line, and global law enforcement and national security communities will reap the benefits of an anti-money laundering policy that stops bad actors from using shell companies to basically run crime rings all over the world. So watch out, Clinton Foundation. That means you.
The funniest thing is that, and you mentioned I was in banking. I was for quite some time, and the money laundering, the AML, anti-money laundering groups within these organizations were growing like crazy. This was like the most exciting place to be because so much money was getting poured into it. But they also had all these rules and regulations that there was so much like subterfuge that it was still not transparent at all.
Right,
So it was all smoke and mirrors and paper and filing things, but nothing was getting done.
right.
So
So
hopefully this
that's a
helps a
really
lot.
good thing because we know that those executive orders also have to do with seizing property, seizing money and assets and all of that. And, all these big corporations, including the Gates Foundation, all of Soros's companies, all of Epstein's stuff, these people have multiple companies, underneath companies, shell companies on top. And it's just a labyrinth. And there was a great report the International Journalists group did on the FISEN report that all the suspicious activity reports that the banks are supposed to put in when they see money laundering had been ignored for years, and these guys found them, and it really was awful. Again, connected to the Epstein, Goldman, the Rothschild banking cabal, like the Fed, all this money laundering that has basically been ignored for all these years until Trump came in there and finally got the ability after all these years to look at the books of the Fed. And so that's a good movement in the right direction. So that's a positive sign because
That is a positive sign.
that wouldn't happen if
Absolutely not.
Mr. Money Launderer, quid pro quo, Joe's coming in.
Well, he is coming in.
No, he's not. And also, Eric Holder, gave basically the banks and everyone that screwed the entire country and every man like COVID did during the housing crisis immunity. Nobody ever went to jail for that. Madoff went to jail because he was stupid. At the end, he just got, in the end, he lost. But nobody else really went to prison for a lot of awful money laundering and bank shenanigans. So that's a good sign. This has never happened before.
I mean, I got to tell you what I saw, and my business was basically didn't work anymore after '08. And there was something called too big to fail,
Right,
which was the
exactly.
big
What a load of
banks
shit.
and
Oh
the
God, free
ability.
passes.
Yeah, I mean, it was the level of devastation that I saw I saw people get
Yeah.
away with was just extraordinary.
Also, that whole 2008 stimulus, which Joe Biden was apparently he was in charge of, went nowhere. It didn't go to anyone. It was all money laundered through our government. Government made money. Contractors made money. Lobbyists made money. The American people made no money, and we struggled to rebound from 2008. And it didn't really happen until Trump came in. But okay, so that's a good thing. Second good thing I see. 400 ex-intelligence officers have gotten together as volunteers to investigate election irregularities. And these are some of the tops of the tops, and they're doing it mostly volunteer. Some are paid, but this guy, Robert Karen, who's one of the organizers, brought together this intelligent community group. And he said that it's about 400 military, law enforcement, and judiciary members that are interested in investigating the irregularities in the 2020 election. Most of them worked in intelligence their whole lives. Many are former CIA. The guy who's setting it up was the Special Situation Group under George H.W. And he is in charge of the strategic planning, technology, foreign and international investigations. So this intelligence community group, basically they are at this point outraged at the amount of cheating and at what is going on. And the guy who started it, Karen, he said that he in 2014, when Lieutenant General Michael Flynn, our favorite guy, called out President Obama for not acting properly on intelligence, it was ignored. And then Flynn was retaliated against because Flynn knew that they were lying about Benghazi and a million other things. And he said that it became a pervasive under a Barack Obama situation where officers were withholding information from their leaders. Leaders were withholding it from the public. It was just the transparency went nowhere. And then after Flynn attacked, after Obama attacked Flynn and fired him as the director of Defense Intelligence Agency, where he was an Army career hero for 33 years, he was silenced. But then, last month, Flynn was, thank God, pardoned with innocence, which he is. And he said that he basically thinks Obama was afraid of him because he was going to expose Obama's corruption. So that has this guy, Karen, and a bunch of other former, true patriot military white hats have gotten together to just say, Obama didn't has never been honest about Benghazi, has never been honest about most of the things that went on. A lot of it's been, handled and silenced by, other people that are compromised. So these guys, they're working, and they said that he's way over 400 people. They're pretty much all volunteers, and that they are going through all the fraud because it's, as he says, the fraud was so massive and so blatant. Despite what the mainstream media says, we need to get this information to the public. That's why more and more people from the intelligence community and law enforcement are coming out, outing themselves just to be heard. This is unprecedented, obviously, and basically, so good guys are coming out of the woodwork, and there's a like our back channel always said, there's a lot more of us than there are of them. They play the smoke and mirrors so that the Black Lives Matter, LGBT, Antifa, the Trump haters look like they're the biggest, like they're the majority. That's not true. And basically, this guy said this is a bit information war, and our mainstream media is working against the people. And he's seen enough, and a lot of these other guys have seen enough, and they know that you know that the Chinese Communist Party is a significant player in the election fraud, and as well as other countries that are our enemies, and they want to stop it. So good people are coming out and doing the right thing, and it's good to hear. So, as for the money laundering and as for the election, we have people that know what they're doing that are coming forward to say enough, and it's happening more and more every day, like that Pulitzer guy, and then that Pinto, the mathematician. So, people that know what they're doing are saying enough's enough, and they're not going to allow it.
Yeah, there's a lot of patriots out there that I was talking to my mother today. She's like, she was kind of a little bit of afraid of what's going to happen. I said, look, don't be afraid. We have an extraordinarily capable and effective team that's running this operation. And
Right.
people, like you said, are stepping up. That both the House now and the Senate are getting a large group of
Right.
supporters for this election interference. I think it's like
Right.
140 House members and maybe up to 11 or 14
Right.
senators behind Hawley.
Yeah, because they're leaving out that one of the things that Trump wanted when he was vetoing the defense bill, of course, they're not mentioning it, was he wanted a commission to investigate the election, and they weren't going to allow that. Well, Ted Cruz is saying that he wants to put off that voting, or he's not going to vote for or the electors shouldn't be able to submit their votes until there's a commission put together, an emergency commission to look into the cheating and the fraud. So, and don't forget, we still haven't seen what's his name, DNI Ratcliffe's report that was due in 45 days and has been held off. I would say, from what I'm seeing on the 6th of January in DC, we will see a lot of evidence before us, if not that day and before it or after it. But remember, we still haven't seen that report, and those guys know more than we do. And I think that's a good sign. And basically, it's getting long here, so I kind of want to wrap it up a bit. I wanted to say good luck to, I can't even believe that Julian Assange, this is still going on, but Julian Assange has his extradition hearing on Monday. As you know, if you followed me, I find the Julian Assange situation very, I think it's a white hat operation at this point. He's a hero, he's a patriot, he's done more for us than we even know yet. And Seth Rich gave him he was the one who was the source to the WikiLeaks, and they murdered Seth Rich, and they've done everything they could to hide it. But the FBI has been caught and finally had to give over during depositions information showing that Seth Rich did in fact communicate with Julian Assange and WikiLeaks, as well as requested payment from them, apparently through doing a transaction, I think on eBay or something like that. But basically, the FBI hid everything about him and all this time, and have misled the public and and his family and everyone else. And the truth of the matter is that Seth Rich was working with WikiLeaks, and he was trying to expose the disgusting corruption, pedophilia, and cheating that he found when he was at the DNC. And God bless Seth Rich. And they took him out, and somehow Donna Brazil and Muriel Bowser were at the hospital before he died, when they said that he was alive when they got to the to the hospital. You know, everything about that story is shady, but apparently the FBI has been lying for years and did have interactions about it, including text messages between Lisa Page and Peter Strzok, the lovebirds of the Russia collusion hoax. They were interacting about what to do about the Seth Rich. And hopefully that'll come out. Good luck to Julian Assange and his family and his parents. They fought so hard, and this man is a hero. And God willing, he whatever is the best for him happens. Trump pardons him or gives him immunity, and he comes back here and he rips the top off of this mess because he knows where the bodies are buried. And just like General Flynn, he's been persecuted for it all this time from a rogue American CIA, FBI, DOJ nightmare. So good luck to Julian Assange. Let's hope it's almost over, the nightmare he's been living through. And Rob, I think that's it for tonight.
Yeah, the biggest thing I have to say is, January 6th, DC. It looks like the mayor there is trying to thwart our efforts, but we will not be thwarted.
No.
So I don't know if people know, but they're trying to close down restaurants and close
Yeah.
hotels and this and that. But look, like I said, yeah, I think yesterday, patriots are very resourceful, and we know how important this is. We've been asked by our president to come and show up, and we are going to be there in spades. So,
Yep.
so
And I want to say to everyone, thank you so much for following us. The comments are so nice. And really, my whole thing that I want to do is I kind of want to always give hope and faith, and also bring out stories that do show that there are good guys, and the good guys are winning, and that things are happening. So, whatever you can do, however you can participate, your voice matters, no matter even if you think you can do nothing, you can. And thank you so much for joining us. We are excited. It's our second week. We made it through on the Mel K Show, Daily Show. And I just really appreciate it. And I want everyone to keep hope and faith alive, because this isn't over by a long shot. And the next phase is going to be truly incredible. So just buckle up, stay positive, keep your vibe going. And know, again, God wins, and he really, really wins this time, because God trumps evil, if nothing else, right now.
absolutely. Thank you, patriots. Have a
Thank you,
great
guys.
day.
Hope you have a great Saturday. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.